Welcome back to the Women's Rugby Treehouse. This week we are looking back on the end of the Celtic Challenge. We'll be taking a peek at the first ever squad announced by Sean Lynn as Wales women's coach, and we'll be previewing the PWR Final. Let's start the show. I am joined by my friend and colleague, Sean. Hello, good evening, Sean.
Hello, good evening.
And I am joined by Julia and Harley, who are Android users.
And
Beep boop, beep boop boop, beep boop boop. You can have whatever apps you want on our devices.
I have all the ones that I want already.
I've got all of the apps.
That's what Steve told you. Steve will tell you what you want. He's dead, I think.
Steve knows what I want, and he was right.
Steve does know what you want, and what Steve knows you want is baby phone.
Oh, I'm so intelligent. I'm an Android user. My phone is complicated.
But the difference is I don't think I'm intelligent.
Yeah, you don't think
it's complicated.
I'm stupid.
Speaking of a bunch of people who don't think they're intelligent, we have some rugby thoughts.
Yes. Okay, right. So like I said in the intro, we should be talking about the Celtic Challenge. We should be talking about the Wales squad. We should be talking about PWR. But there is something else to mention very quickly first. So on Monday, when we decided that we were doing this pod, I was thinking, what are we going to talk about? You know, we just a bit of Celtic Challenge, a bit of Wales, a bit of PWR, and just chat a bit about the rugby, I suppose. That's novel for this show. Normally, there's some kind of disaster that happens that we are forced to talk about. And then something happened on when was it even? Was it Monday evening? Tuesday? Monday
The
evening.
universe provides. The universe provides.
I think it was Monday evening. I know it was a bit of a drama.
I think it was Tuesday. Was it Tuesday?
Harley, you didn't talk about it on Wraps, so when was it?
Maybe it was Wednesday. I had my blood pressure taken Tuesday.
We did talk about it on Wraps.
Like
it was Monday.
Scale.
It was just as we were about to record on Monday.
Me.
Sean, that's a good point. I should check mine as well. That's a really bad metric to use. In fact, I'm planning on charting my blood pressure journey all through the Six Nations.
Me too. We should do it like we should do that.
We are. We're gonna do a check. You know, like you check in on your like Strava. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's this gonna be?
Yeah. Sean, now.
Hold on. Now I'm curious when it happened.
Okay, no, it's all right.
One of the Twitter searches is a Neath latest. Don't click it.
Okay, so I'm just going to show. So for people who weren't aware, everybody's aware. Who hasn't seen this? But Neath RFC, the people famous for social media exploits, decided to put out a post promoting their game against Llangennych. Poor old Llangennych, bless them. They didn't want to be a part of any of this. They said, this one isn't for the faint-hearted. This one isn't for the half-committed, which is a famous saying that everybody says all the time. This one is definitely not for girls. And just in case you missed that bit, they wrote it in pink across the poster for the game. Now, following on from that, they put out a lengthy post where they claimed that they did that on purpose in order to start a conversation. And then
there was a little bit of backlash to the first
there was
post.
There
was a little bit of reaction.
Response on social media. And then after that, the WRU told Neath to take it down, after which Neath, is he owner? Is he CEO? Chairman? I don't even know what the role is.
Both owner and CEO.
Matty Young.
And for some reason, socials manager.
Yeah, went on socials to say he was very sorry, and then went on Woman's Hour to explain himself.
Yeah, that was weird.
Which was weird.
Me being on Woman's Hour was not on my Welsh Rugby bingo card, I gotta say.
With a big frowny face.
So, I guess the only question that we have, because there's no point talking about the morality of what happened and whether it was good or bad or what the implications of it. It's 2025. Anyone who's even heard of feminism knows why it was a bad thing. The question that I have is, do any of us believe for a moment that they were trying to start a conversation?
I want to know, do we believe that there are videos that they storyboarded and that they were ready to post, and then because we were all very mean, this is very Trumpian, by the way, because you were all very mean, I'm not giving it to you now. You're not going to see the videos. You're not going to see the women. We're not having a women's team. I don't believe there was a video. I don't believe he thought that it would backfire. I really think that because in the post, and this is the one thing, like Llangennych said in the one time when people reached out and were like, hey, did you see this? They were like, oh, no, they said at the bottom, they said it's not all as it seems. It was how it seemed.
But even sometimes things like, don't put things in the small print on social media, you know? Just like famously, sarcasm and nuance doesn't necessarily do it online. So just kind of, I can believe
One line at the bottom of a post,
if it
it's
was
not going
just
to get seen.
if it was just one bloke, I could believe that he was dumb enough. But this is like, there must be at least one other person he must have run this by at some point and said, do you think this is a good idea or not? Like, it kind of been
underestimating Welsh rugby there.
Yeah, and interestingly, Clanklaff did say, or at least their socials person did say when there were in replies and stuff that they were like, oh no, like we knew they had this plan. We didn't know what they were going to say was the difference, was that they were like, we knew that they wanted to do something like kind of quirky, kind of like unique or whatever. But according to what they did put out, and I'm guessing that this is also covering their ass, they were like, we didn't know they were going to say that way. But there was a plan. Wink, wink. Which I don't believe.
But didn't McDonald's do this? Was it McDonald's? They did something like this a few years ago, didn't they? They said something like, "Oh, women should just be in the kitchen" or something. It was the same kind of thing, and they were trying to be
I know what you're talking
controversial.
about. I do think it's McDonald's, and
that was like, that went down like a lead balloon.
it went down
quite
so
rightly.
badly.
And I think Neath have done the same thing. I think they've just.
I just feel like that whole scheme has kind of, every time anybody has tried it, it's failed. It has never succeeded. What?
Yeah,
made you
this whole
think
kind
right
of
now?
like, oh, we want to engage debate. It's not. There's ways of engaging debate without being like this. It's just weird. I think the whole thing's weird.
As somebody comically said in the replies to it, we decided to highlight misogyny in Welsh rugby by doing it.
Yeah.
That's how it was. We're gonna point it out by doing some. No,
I don't.
Generally,
I think what
doesn't work.
I
Bring
think what
awareness
annoys me.
to.
Go on, sorry.
Bring awareness to domestic violence by doing it. Like, no, doesn't work.
Yeah, there's a line with
I
these things, isn't there? Like, bring awareness to homicide by killing a man. Like,
you sure did.
I'm just uneasy with the kind of like, ooh, it was a joke kind of thing, because I mean, it kind of wasn't really a joke. It was just, it was like, oh, I don't know what it was, but like the whole, it's a joke. Come on, that's gaslighting. I don't like it. That's what annoyed me, I think.
Exactly right. And you know what? If it was a joke and it was planned and you really put any forethought into this, any of your women involved would have been, or any of the women that you are connected with, in terms of like, they pointed out that they have the Neath Panthers and everything. Like, if you were really trying to do this like funny joke and shine a light on it, why didn't they know about it? Because they all got that and they were like, oh, that sucks that you said that.
Yeah, weird.
Why did you say that?
so I think it was important that we addressed it, being as it's a thing that happened in the sphere of women's rugby in Wales. But let's blow past it now to talk about some teams that have played some rugby. By goodness. And the Celtic Challenge is now finished. I was going to go hooray there, but not hooray, because I enjoy it and I wish it was longer. And
It's really fun this year.
The table has finished after the 10 rounds. It has gone to be Wolfhounds, then Clovers, then Gwalia, then Thunder, then Edinburgh, then Glasgow. So there's a somewhat of a 2x2 there, and we'll maybe talk a bit about the different approaches that each participating union has taken towards this kind of league as it is. But we'll start off just generally, you know, without, like I said, we'll come on to the different approaches of the different countries, but just as a general vibe, have we enjoyed the Celtic Challenge so far this season? I mean, Sean, you've been actually there in the games, feet on the ground, talking to the players, putting cameras in their faces, so asking them what they think. So
doing really well too.
What's the verdict? Has it taken a decent step forward from last year?
I personally think definitely. I mean, I did watch the Celtic Challenge last year, but this year I don't know. It's just different this year. I've totally got into it, and I was saying this to you the other day. I feel like I'm so into Gwalia now. Like, I just like a complete Gwalia nerd. They're like my team. I've been to all the home games. Went to Parky Cutlets to watch the Lightning game, and yeah, I I don't know, I've just got really into the games, and the games have been good games as well. It's not like I know there's been a few games where in all of the games now, there's been quite a couple of high scoring games that were a bit one-sided and everything. But in general, I think the standard's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been. I just think the whole thing's been really positive, just really, really positive. And for me, it's just. I think Gwalia are like a really good team to follow. They've got a lot of young players. They've got a good mix of some of the slightly more. I don't know how you kind of like grade it. They're young, but they're emerging, like Allow and Maisie. They've already played for Wales. Gwenin. And I don't know, they've just got a lot of sass in the pack, and you could see them
sass
develop.
In the pack.
Sass in the pack. You can see the team from the beginning when they didn't have very long together. I think they only had a couple of weeks when they first played the opening match. But I've seen them progress through the season. And although, to be honest, the last 2 home games against Wolfhounds and Clovers were a little bit disappointing in terms of the score, because we'd had really close games out in Ireland. We probably should have won against Wolfhounds. I think we had a try held up right at the end, and Karis totally would have nailed the conversion. I think we should have won that game. So it's kind of like, it was a bit, to me, that was really the only downside, that they ended the season they were quite well beaten in the end. But that's not, it was only really one half where I thought that they didn't play it to their potential. And like I said, you've just seen them improve, I think. And they've scored some really good team tries as well. You've seen them actually gone from, they are quite forward dominated. And yeah, you've seen that sort of play come on as the season gone on. So for me, yeah, I think there's also been some really standout performances. Like, the most consistent performer for me for Gwalia has been Bryony King. She's been outstanding in pretty much every single game. Obviously, Allow Pierce has been brilliant. Maisie Davis has been good. Sean Jones, Karis Hughes. There's been quite a few sort of players who are really starting to think, like, we've got some talent coming through underneath our top senior Wales players. So, yeah, it's I'm really stoked for them. Really, I think they've done a really good job. I think they should be really pleased with how their season's gone.
How would you rate going to these matches? Because it also seemed like, for all of the experiences that you can have watching rugby in Wales, it seemed, at least when you were chatting with us in real time, that this was a pretty great experience. You get to be up close and personal with the players, which is something you don't get in every competition of rugby, and especially for these up and coming stars. How did you find the experience, like, the programming around the Celtic Challenge?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because obviously I remember we talked about it. It was a bit, it's like, why are they going to play in Ystrad Mynach? This is really weird. But I want to be playing at Cardiff Arms Park, blah, blah, blah. But I actually have come to really like going to Ystrad Mynach, I've got to say. It's a nice setup.
That's
there.
what I heard.
Yeah, and I joke about it. The sun always shines in Ystrad Mynach. It pretty much has always been nice weather every time I've gone there. It's wild. But yeah, I've really enjoyed going down there, and it's quite intimate. You can get you're sat next to parents, and you can get close to the players. You're like, some of the other players who are supporting from Brython are there in the crowd as well, which is great. So
someone's older sister in the bathroom.
yeah, that too. You can literally, like, even though we were sat quite near the front, you can hear Shuan. I can actually literally hear her do the commentary at the back. It's just a really, I kind of really like that. Cool. It is. Although I would actually like to see the Celtic Challenge sort of grow, and get bigger and bigger. There is an element of, like, it's really cool to get to that level and get that kind of intimacy. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's really good fun.
It seems like a really good gateway also to get either fans of perhaps either grassroots men's, regional men's, whatever, into women's rugby, because it's an easier pathway, or also getting new or younger female fans into rugby. It kind of felt like across the competition that this was an easy way to get into it, that there wasn't such a high, and I say barrier to entry, but really just, it's intimidating going to your first live game of a sport where historically maybe young women haven't felt so welcome. It seemed like this one is a really welcoming place.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of think that more could be done to market these games, because it looks on TV, there's like no one there, and it's kind of like, I think I do think
Yeah,
that
us should Munich not having a stand opposite the cameras and things. It
Exactly.
yeah,
That was
that
really
is
frustrating.
rubbish. That is rubbish, isn't it? And it kind of
And
makes it
I
look
think
like they're playing on a park, you know? It's
Exactly.
like,
It did a disservice because we know from our women on the ground that like it was not, yes, of course it's not getting the crowds that we can talk about for other competition, but it wasn't not attended.
yeah,
People
yeah,
care.
yeah, exactly. And it would be nice to sort of, increase that. Yeah, it's a shame. It would be nice to be playing in a proper stadium as much as I've grown to love Munich. It's my new home now.
Harley, if we stick with Gwalia for a moment, what is it? Third in the table, but we'll talk about Brython in a bit, but
With an
like
asterisk, yeah.
to say that Brython are one space behind Gwalia doesn't really tell the story. 6 wins from 10 games, a very satisfying season. It has to be from your point of view.
I think it was for Gwali, there were 2 teams we had to beat, which unfortunately is Bristol and Glasgow, just purely because of the setup of those teams. They haven't got as many, neither of them got any stars. The one that was very impressive is we beat Edinburgh, who were there or
was
thereabouts
big.
last season. I don't know what the drop offs there. Unfortunately, their coach has been sacked, or fortunately, their coach has been sacked. But it was nice to see Gwali. They sort of weirdly, considering this is an amalgamation of Cardiff and the Dragon. It's that east and south sort of area. They quite surprised they almost took an Ospreys approach to the game. So it was pack first, get that dominance up front, and then
Definitely.
eventually you saw the back starting to play. I remember us commenting saying, like, if we had the Brython centres and the Gwalia pack, I reckon we'd have beaten the Clovers of the Wolfhounds at least one of those 4 games.
And it would be a formidable Wales A, honestly.
It would be absolutely formidable.
Interesting.
I think Gwalia's did a really good job. As I said, yes, a lot of there were a lot of Wales internationals there, but they are the formative cap Wales internationals, the ones who got like game here or there in a warm up,
Yeah,
not as opposed to.
It's not like playing Alex Alcal, is it? Or
it's not like Alcal or Natalia John who've been there and done that really. So, but to see how they're developing as leaders as well, I think it's been because that's one thing. I'll be honest, every rugby team at some point or another is like we haven't got enough leaders, and there are different ways you can develop it. One is to call everyone a vice captain, or you can actually have people who develop and show some leadership, whether that's in the front, whether it's just pulling players into position, or just when something goes wrong, just getting someone into the post and saying, right, this is what we're going to do. And I think Gwen Hopkins, she epitomised that. Bryony King as well, I thought was absolutely standing.
She was immense. I know I just go on about her all the time, but she's blown me away this season because she really
had a monster reliable performance, which
you could just always count on her.
Needs.
She's so
exactly
physical. Like she will literally put her body on the line. Nothing seems to like bother her in that sense. But she's also like quite like a creative player. She can, sidestep or like she sees a gap. She's got quite a good turn of pace on her. I think she's had an outstanding Celtic challenge.
I think sometimes when you're a dual coder, it can kind of the same as being a 15s and 7s crossover. Sometimes it can cloud your judgment in the moment. I think about like learning Spanish and Portuguese at the same time, which is a horrible thing that I did, and clouding the two constantly. That can happen to you, or things like Bryony can happen, where I feel like watching her play, you are seeing the best of a league player and a union player, which does not always happen, but it takes a certain rugby IQ, and I think that her performance showed that.
Definitely, but I think she's matured though. I think
exactly.
I think this year she seems to have stepped up a level. I think, and I think maybe it's she's captain. Maybe that's helped
exactly
into it. But like she's not giving away as penalty. Like often players like that physical and they kind of play close to the line can give away quite a lot of penalties, and she hasn't this year or anything like that. So yeah.
And we've talked about it before. Some players are built to play up to a leadership role that they're given. Sometimes that really empowers them to be creative and I think, we can't know for sure. Some people who are bruisers just aren't big talkers. We don't know about that, but it seems like it did good for her.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's Gwalia. So I think Gwalia deserve congratulations for a very strong season, and a lot of people I think should really appreciate what they've done.
Number 1 team, the best.
I was going to say, Cardiff fans say, all right.
So,
I'm not a Cardiff fan. I have to be an everything fan because of.
And I want Gwalia merch.
My friends here.
That's
another thing for anybody listening. Oh my gosh, we want Celtic Challenge merch. It's crazy that Scotland, both of their teams have merch. Come on.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We love spending
money. Badgering everyone about this, by the way.
And we're not asking for free merch. I mean, it was great, but we're not asking
for merch that exists. We would love to pay you. No. Yeah. We would love to pay you.
One place behind Gwalia in the table, but 14 points and minus, are you ready for this? Minus 237 points difference worse in the table is Brython Thunder. So Brython finished the season in a good way. We beat Glasgow home and away, which we had to, really. Glasgow, everyone would say, is the weakest team in the league. We also had a win over Edinburgh at Parky Cartlets as well, which I very much enjoyed. We had some very, very tough results as well. I think we had 100 away in Ireland put on us, and we were lucky not to have 100 in the other game in Ireland put on us. And there were a few too many halves of rugby where there was a big fat donut next to our name on the scoreboard. So, look, it's a development tournament and it's still a franchise. I'm going to use that word for now. Franchise in its second season of existence. So I'm not going to lose my mind or anything. And look, there's a bigger picture at stake here. It was good to watch at times. I think clearly the best thing about Brython Thunder was the centres. We have it feels like 5 centres, and it doesn't matter which ones we play. They absolutely shred whatever team they're playing against. It's just a question of whether we can get those centres clean ball. And that comes to the conversation about the pack, where at times it was a little bit disappointing. Really couldn't hang with Gwalia's pack, and certainly just couldn't hang with the Irish packs and things. I've never carried a ball on a rugby pitch ever in my life, but so some of the body shapes and positioning and skills going into contact at times were quite disappointing. I know this isn't professional rugby, but on being that step into professional rugby, just kind of, but a little bit below what you'd expect from that level. There were nice touches from the backs. Hannah Marshall showed some really great intent at times. Really always tried to spark something. Every time she got the ball, was trying to make something happen. Hashtag Hing on the wing always did well as well. Enjoyed watching her play. I
gotta say, there was a lot of rugby IQ.
Gwen Crabb as well, getting the hat trick against Glasgow as well. Probably comfortably the best forward I think that we have.
There was a lot of smart.
That was outstanding. That was incredible. Gwen Crabb's performance that game.
Really great.
I haven't seen a Welsh. Yeah, that was brilliant. Really, really
but Julia, from your point of view, kind of watching Brython, not a little bit tough to watch at times. I don't know. What am I being harsh? What's your take on them?
No, I think you're being. I don't think it's harsh. I think it's fair. Only insofar as I don't think any of the players, especially the ones that we just listed here, would want us to handle them with soft gloves. I don't think that they would want us to tell them they did great and give them a pat on the head and tell them to go on their way. Yes, there were some disappointing performances. There absolutely were. We discussed it among ourselves that it seemed kind of at some points, and this is something that we've seen across several iterations of Welsh teams, including the senior team, that sometimes they can play together and look like they've never met each other. We did see that a little bit in the beginning. I think the same way as last season, there was a bit of growing to be done within the season. I'm thrilled that they expanded the format so that there was a longer time frame that you could develop. Because another thing about Celtic Challenge, while yes, it's true, right now, first of all, it's very young, but year over year, there isn't a ton of turnover. There's enough that you still have to learn everybody again. And then, of course, when you're not playing in Celtic Challenge, everybody is playing elsewhere. You have to relearn each other. And then you have to learn to play under a coach that you pretty much have to get up to speed immediately, because you almost immediately go into performing. That said, it sounds like I'm trying to make excuses. I'm not. I want to explain why I personally feel that in comparison to Gwalia, Brython built. I feel like the reason that we saw the greatest performances that we did at the end was because they had a game plan. It just perhaps had a longer timeline. In terms of individual performances,
help a little bit with that as well.
Yeah.
I would like to say having Edinburgh and Glasgow back home and away at your last 3 games, as opposed to, I think it was Glasgow and both the Irish teams.
You're absolutely right, and I think that would lead us into the conversation that we are going to have at the tail end of this. And I know that we're heading into it, but the schedule matters in Celtic Challenge specifically because of what sometimes when you're discussing the Celtic Challenge is the elephant in the room. Your schedule can suck if you play certain teams early. I'll say it. If you play the Irish teams early, it's gonna suck. The way that it currently is. So that can make your record look a certain way, and it can make your points difference look that way. But that said, it's because of something that we have to discuss with the format. And I assume that's where we're leading into.
Yeah, so let's talk about the different approaches by the different unions then. So kind of the Scottish kind of, we all thought that Edinburgh were going to be a lot better. When I spoke to my close personal friend and former Ireland international Fiona Hayes at the Principality Stadium, she said that she was very surprised at Edinburgh's uncompetitiveness. She thought they were going to be right up there challenging for the title this season.
We all did.
So
we all did.
So that was a bit of a surprise, but it seems like the Scottish
had great insight. Check out Hugh's content, by the way, with Fiona.
So it seems like that Scottish have gone, if you're good, you go and you play in either France or England, and Edinburgh and Glasgow are for the players taking the next step. And we've spoken on this pod before about how the Scottish are investing in their pathways in terms of their pathway contracts and things, which is something, at least they're doing in a public way that we wish that was happening in Wales and stuff. So they've clearly made a strategic decision with that. Although, as Harley pointed out, the Edinburgh coach getting relieved of his duties maybe suggests that maybe
they weren't happy.
They weren't quite as happy with the performance there as they were. The Irish is kind of like, it's 2 halves of the Irish squad. You got Aoife Wafer playing for them, which is the equivalent
Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe playing for one of the. She went
like it's
and the real best EK in women's rugby.
Is Alicia Dugang playing for one of them as well?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Linda Dugang did play for the one that is blue and white, whoever they are. Wolfhounds. She played for the Wolfhounds. I know, because there was a ton of highlights where it was just Linda Dugang running over an 18-year-old.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it was borderline bullying at one point.
It was. I feel like if you played in World Cups, like, you don't need to be.
Hey, look, Brython had Alex Calder last year.
Can I just do something I never thought I'd ever say, and I'm going to defend the IRFU here.
Okay.
Ooh. All right. Minute mark this, because we're going to clip it up.
Like, we've been wondering when we get this poll cancelled, and this might be the moment.
We're getting cancelled, folks. And it's not me this time. Go on.
So I'm going to defend the RFU. I think the way they treat women's rugby is atrocious for the most part, but for this one, I get what they're doing. Ireland's big thing throughout everything is they want their players to play in Ireland. Now, if they're doing that, they have an interprovincial championship, and they have the All Ireland League. Now, for those top players, yes, some of them go off to sevens, but your props aren't going to go to sevens. I mean, unless it's Sarah Byrne, probably, no. They need something to play, and Celtic Challenge is the best place they can play at the moment. So I can't begrudge them for picking their players there, because they're not going to go to PWR, because the PWR spaces are quite limited. I mean, I think you've got I know Neath Jones is.
Neath Jones and Sam Monaghan.
Yes, Sam Monaghan still injured.
It's
Sam Monaghan is still injured. Catherine Buggy is also Irish, but I don't think she's in international contention right now.
I feel
so those are the only ones.
I mean, I feel Wales have done it though as well. Like, it's kind of. So if you take Gwalia, for example, they've had Jenny Hesketh played for them, because I think it was actually, I spoke to her before the Gwalia match. She said that Sean suggested she played for Gwalia to get some game time before the Six Nations, right? Because she'd been out injured.
Well, that makes me happy.
And what an amazing
Jones, big up.
No, Sean Lynn. Sean.
Oh.
So it's like
okay.
it's
good idea too.
It's kind of like, what a great idea. Like, she needs the game time. She's not, she's injured. It's brilliant that they can actually do that. And she she came and played against, I think it was in Edinburgh, and had a really good game.
She played 2 games.
Yeah. She did. She played out in Ireland as well, but then she got injured, unfortunately. So unfortunately, she didn't have quite enough, as many games as she probably would like before the Six Nations. But it's such a great, it's the same for Gwen Crabb. Like, she's been kind of languishing on the bench a little bit for Gloucester.
Same with Natalia Jones.
Comes out, and then look at the way she plays, and it's kind of like, part of me is very torn on this, because it's really good that we can do that, but it's also quite disjointed in a sense that it's harmed, I think, Brython worse, because they haven't had Gwen Crabb the entire challenge, where if she'd been there,
and specifically Brython didn't get Alcal back.
Yeah, pretty much, and it's kind of like, well,
and Harlequin's season fell apart when she got injured. Let's just call a spade a spade. That's what happened.
It sounds like we're joking, but it's not totally untrue.
We're not joking. It's true.
We're not joking.
Alcal doesn't play for Quins, and then they just lose all their games. But yeah, it's kind of like, it is a little bit disjointed that that players are available for a team for one game, and then they're not for the next few games, and so that's the kind of downside of it. So there's part of me that's sort of a little bit, I kind of want it to be one thing, and then I'm like, also like, it's quite good that we can have that flexibility.
Did Fionn Lewis play for Brython as well?
She did. She played in the Gwalia match at Parky Cartlets that I went to.
Because she got signed by Bristol as injury cover for KB, and then we were all like seeing the team sheet. It's like, she's not on it. What gives? We know.
And then she popped
was
up
supposed to be in the
Bristol
Brython squad, and we're like, where is she? And then like the Bristol squad gets announced, like, oh, she's over there. Okay.
Well, that's an example of it's such a bit of a shame. She plays one game and then she's not there the whole, like, for the rest of their matches. And that's quite disjointed.
And that's actually the other half of, we were talking about Jenny Hesketh, but Bristol is its own thing that we could talk about, but because of something
Bristol chat this week.
No. I'm just going to relate it back to Celtic Challenge, because of things that were happening there and the Welsh that played there. There were times that there was availability that wouldn't have been otherwise, that I think was capitalized on well. And then I think on top of that, the way that obviously they weren't rehabbing at a Celtic Challenge club, they were rehabbing at WRU, but I mean, you have to assume that like that's how Gwen Crabb probably happened, was that she was rehabbing and she was like, I'm ready. And probably at that time Gloucester was like, we don't really, like, respectfully and love you, but sorry. So there she was, availability.
It's the best squad in women's rugby.
So. Exactly. And well, we saw the same with Jenny Hesketh because of things that were happening at Bears. All I'm saying is that Celtic Challenge, as well as being a great development league, has also, for Welsh players, luckily been almost kind of a savior of some people's seasons. And I think that regardless of how their teams performed, I do think that it saved people like Sean Jones, Jenny as well, Gwen as well. And we see that because they all got selected. And I know that we're going to ease into the selections, but those people might not have had playtime otherwise.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the Wales selections in a bit. I do agree with Harley, though. When we did the reaction to the Welsh women's contracts, I said I would much rather that we said, if you want a contract, you have to come and play for either Brython or Gwalia, and just wrote that into it. So now that when the Irish actually go and do that, I can't then criticize them for that. Especially if someone like kicks your ass up and down the legal season, then you say it's not fair, your players are too good. It's kind of,
I don't blame Ireland for what they're doing at all.
And it's easier to combat that when you also say like, well, yeah, but like we also had other world-class players on the
but if I'm Wolfhounds or Clovers, I'm getting on the phone to PWR teams now and saying, do you fancy some friendlies? Because
that's a great idea, especially if IRFU is going to keep, and I'm really not here to criticize the way that they're doing it. I used to kind of criticize IRFU for their really like draconian keeping the players within Ireland if you want to be selected. I don't ever know how Neath and Sam got to go. I don't know how. I don't understand it. But I'm thinking about New Zealand, and I'm looking at Super Rugby O'Picky right now, and the way that all of the Blackburns are developing because they're constantly playing against each other. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And Celtic Challenge is going to have to be that for us.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Let's talk about the squad then. So I was initially going to show the 48 player squad, or however many it was that was announced, but just today we've had a 37 squad announced, 37 player squad announced.
It always seems to happen on the day that we're going
to. There's always something.
Uncle Sean likes us.
No, and we joke that like a bunch of stuff. Exactly, a bunch of stuff always happens right before we're about to record, and
yeah, he does it for us. He's thinking of our content.
So in the forwards, we've got Maisie Davis, Gwynelyn Pierce, who I guess is back from injury. Abby Constable, great name. Molly Reardon. You have to shout at me if I'm missing Celtic Challenge players. Molly Reardon played for Gwalia, right? Or was that last season?
No, she's definitely Gwalia, but she got injured for half of the season. So
okay.
As did Rosie
she looked
Carr.
good when she
wasn't
came back.
Rosie Carr out with a shattered collarbone?
No, I think she got injured just before WXV, didn't she?
Oh, that was my God, you're totally right.
Then we've got Kelsey Jones, Caris Phillips, Donna Rose. Is she another Gwalia one? Brython one?
She didn't ever play
Saracens.
Challenge.
No.
Donna Rose, if you're
Saracens,
watching, congratulations. We love your little baby.
No.
No, Donna's been out on parental leave.
Okay. Jenny Scoble, Abby Fleming, Alor Pierce, Natalia John, Gwen Crabb, who played for Brython, Georgia Evans, Bryony King, Kate Williams, Bethan Lewis.
Well, Bryony King, are we naming Celtic Challenge?
Yes.
Bryony King played for Gwalia.
We've missed a
Jenny
few.
Scoble
has played for Gwalia.
Okay.
I was like, it's just the
No, you have to tell me if I'm wrong. I haven't memorized Gwalia's squad.
Should we just start
again?
Is
it just the people he likes?
Welcome back to the Women's Rugby Treehouse. This week we are talking about this.
Hi.
Right. So Kate Gwalia, Bethan Lewis, Alex Callender, Gwennon Hopkins, who captains Gwalia Lightning, and Alicia Butchers, who is named last for some reason, even though she is not a number 8, and she is. Her name begins with an A and a B.
I've been chatting.
Don't get me started about this.
I've had some pals reach out to me since this was dropped earlier today. Several friends of the pod who are just like, who's moving? Like, what's the deal? Why do you guys have no props? And I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We've got it under control.
Can I be a proper conspiracy theorist now with Alicia?
Please, I want to hear. Do you think AJB is going to 8?
Uncle Sean has decided that he's going to do a 7-1 split, and she's going to be the centre cover.
Yeah, that would really annoy Julia.
I'm
so annoyed
down
right now.
on the 7-1 split rabbit hole.
I'm so annoyed right now.
Like, I so believe in the 7-1.
I hate everything.
You've no idea how much of mine and Hugh's conversations in the last couple of days have centered around 7-1 splits.
No, I can believe it.
Because they're woke. Because they're woke, and it's why we lose.
Scarlett's could do a 7-1 split. We've got Vare Fafita. He can play anywhere. But
oh my God,
back to women's rugby.
And you've got Tane Plumtree, who's like a slightly less polished Vare Fafita.
Yes. Don't be mean to my Tane. Anyway, but into the backs, we've got Kira Bevan, Sean Jones. Again, shout if I'm missing Brython or Gwalia players. Sean Jones, Meg Davis, who used to play for
Gwalia.
Sean Jones, Gwalia, Meg Davis, Gwalia.
Meg Davis played for Gwalia.
Fionn Lewis,
Meg Davis has played games for Gwalia this year.
I thought she played for Brython last year.
I think she did.
Yeah, she switched. She switched because the coaches were cooler.
I think it's because Meg Davis is the first ever try scorer in Brython Thunder history. I think that's my bit of trivia. Anyway, Fionn Lewis, who played a game for Brython Thunder, Clayton George, Kaylee Powell, Robin Wilkins, Hannah Jones, Hannah Block, who definitely played for Brython Thunder.
Oh, very much.
Karen Lake, who used to play for Brython Thunder but doesn't anymore.
Karen Lake played one game for Gwalia this year.
One game for Gwalia, and she is cited by several Gwalia players as somebody who is still around. Apparently, she's less time at Gloucester-Hartpury. I mean, understandably, less time at Gloucester. Apparently, Karen has been doing a lot of mentoring, which is awesome because she's the right person to do it.
Yeah,
several players,
amazing job.
Several players have said that she has been mentoring at Gwalia, which is a really great sign because a lot of those players are going to end up in the senior squad. Yeah,
agreed. This sounds like she's doing a really good job there.
Caris Cox, Courtney Kite, Nell Metcalf, Jenny Hesketh, who played for Gwalia a little bit, Lisa Newman, Catherine Richards, and some woman called...
We do know how to pronounce Courtney Keat and Lisa Neumann, don't worry.
Also, can I say, am I the only one who's annoyed that Alicia and Jazz aren't Joyce Butchers?
I don't understand why they picked a load of wingers at fullback at the end and then fullbacks in the wing. I don't understand.
Right.
I thought it was
well, Kaylee Powell is listed as a 10, which I know we're in favour of, but she's not played 10 for Wales yet, apart from in that last game.
She will, and you know what?
KP10 is going to be activated.
KP10 activated. KP10 we are so stoked for, which we've always said. And remember, Kaylee Powell, if you're listening, remember, and I'm sure you know because I know that you follow my Twitter very closely. I'm kidding. That absolutely doesn't happen. But remember, I predicted we are going to beat France with Kaylee Powell at 10.
You did, yeah, it's true.
The first game of the Six Nations
is
Ireland
an EpiPen right into my leg.
First game of the Six Nations is Ireland versus France in Ireland. That's a good game. I'm looking forward to that.
Hell of a
Have fun.
It will be.
I'm glad it's not us.
So,
have fun.
Let me make one thing on that because you went as well as mispronouncing Neumann. She is on a hella form.
And Keith, right CK, I'm so sorry.
Wasn't she dropped by Quins though for a big game? She didn't play against Bristol or something.
Who, Neumann?
Yeah.
No, I think
she's also with Love. She is also often injured.
So there's no real surprises in this squad. I think it's fair to say. In the wider squad, we were kind of debating about who should and shouldn't have been in. Karis Hughes wasn't in it, and I was like,
I think that's the biggest omission.
I'm a bit biased because obviously Gwalia, but I was a bit disappointed she wasn't in the extended squad.
Well,
what was my biggest issue with last season was we couldn't kick a goal.
I was going to say, if we're being clinical about picking it apart, we do not have a surefire place kicker outside of KB. This should have been Karis.
Yes. Yeah,
should have been Karis.
Imagine she came off the bench to land the penalty to beat France.
But it could. I could absolutely see that happening.
Kaylee Powell was on 15 by that point.
Yeah. Well, I think the 10 debate is the most interesting one. I think Hannah Jones has been retained as captain. So the question of who's going to line up next to her in the centres. From a Brython point of view, I can tell you that there's loads of great Welsh centres actually literally swimming in them. We're like Fiji over here. But
yeah,
I feel like the number 10 jersey is the interesting one because you got Fakey George, who obviously Uncle Sean knows, but Kaylee Powell has been pulling up trees at Quins.
And he actually name-checked her, didn't he, in the interview?
He name-checked her.
He actually called out Lisa Neumann and Kaylee Powell. So I think that's a little bit of an indicator.
But there's lots of
ways. Well, wait. Can I throw one more wrench in? What is very interesting about the backs lineup, and I know that back stuff isn't my specialty. However, it is very weird to have 4 scrum halves. Now, what I think is going to happen is something that has already happened at Gwalia. I think that Sean Jones is being targeted to be a 9-10. I think.
Oh, very French.
So are we having a 6-2 split? Are we having a 6-2? Harley, are we having a 6-2 split?
A non-woke 6-2 split.
I'll tell you something. Sean Jones can goal kick.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I think it's
a very good goal kicker.
I think it's an excellent idea, and I think that it's incredibly smart. I mean, obviously we'd want her there anyway, whether she stays at 9 or does 9-10. But if you look at everything, the only 2 surefires that we have are Flaky and KP. I think Sean is meant to be a ringer.
Yeah,
because I can see KB being an 80-minute player for sure.
She's definitely got the legs. She's definitely got the legs, and you don't really see her drop off at all in games.
The only time she comes off is when she's injured at Bears.
Yeah,
she's usually.
But I also think that Meg Davis might get game time just because of the Gloucester thing.
I hope. I agree. I agree, and she's playing really well.
I think she's more a pure 9, but absolutely. I hope.
I
think the development there
is
interesting,
great. Isn't it?
We have depth at 9.
But there are ways to get both Fakey George and Kaylee Powell into the team, though, because you could have Kaylee Powell at 15, and that works because then you've got Lisa on one wing and Jazz on the other.
If I remember right, Clakey was an inside.
Clakey had played
inside
center.
centre to start with.
She played
That's what I would
flanker
do.
originally. I mean, she was capped at flank.
I'm sorry, Courtney Keat is
I can believe that.
extremely well, Courtney Keat is extremely in form right now. I will just tell you right now, as a Bears fan, I think she's in her prime right now.
Sean ain't picking no Bears players. He's not interested.
He'd be foolish not to.
Apart from Jazz, obviously, and Alicia. Apart from that, no Bears players.
I mean, Courtney and KB.
And KB. Apart from that, no Bears players.
So all of
Careful, this gets into a Monty Python sketch.
I mean, Courtney's been playing in the centre for Bears as well, so she is a centre option. I prefer her not at centre, I think, but she could play there.
I prefer her at 15. I prefer her at 15 because when I think about
she's listed as a centre.
She is in as a centre, yeah.
Okay, but that whole pool, when you look at it, it ends with wingers. So I don't think it's written properly.
How was our backline so rubbish over the last couple of years? We've got amazing players.
That's how I feel, is that I think that they were arranged poorly.
Hannah Jones said that in the interview with the BBC. They were like, what do you think's going to happen this year, Hannah? And she was like, we're going to score backs tries. For God's sake.
Go, Hannah!
I think she's right. I think she's right. I think that's a very smart read. But no, I want to go back to harping on Courtney Keat at 15. I think that she is the absolute best choice. I hope I don't regret saying this, but I think that she's a better 15 at the moment than Jazz. I think Jazz should be on the wing. I think Courtney.
Yeah, I think Jazz is a better right winger than.
I think she's a better 14.
She's a better winger than she is a fullback. She's an electric fullback, but I think having an actual 15 would be useful.
Absolutely, but when it comes to somebody with and we've been talking a lot about this because we've been looking at the Celtic Challenge players. When it comes to somebody with like the strength for what we're going to need, because we know who's going to be running through lines at the Six Nations, I think Courtney Keat.
It's a nice conversation that we're having, to be honest. I'm kind of like, I feel the squad isn't that much different than the one that Johan Cunningham picked. But I feel a lot more like, I don't know, I feel like he didn't get anywhere near the best out of the players that we've got, and we've got really good players.
And we know now why. There were a lot of things in the way of getting the best out of them.
100%. But I just feel that, like, I don't know, I feel it's quite a nice conversation that we're having now. We're like, oh well, we've got Keat, and we've got, you know, Jazz, or we've got Jenny Hesketh. We've got all these players. We're like, oh, it's like a really good, it's like a good sign, I think.
It's
I can't see Sean Lynn not going as Gloucester as possible. The same with Jockey with Wales. I think he'd be daft not to.
I think he'd be
Wales
men. Foolish to do that. I think he'd be foolish to do that.
I think you've got to look at it in a slightly different. Like, it was very easy for Jockey to go quite Cardiff heavy because all the components are there. Like, he had Anscombe, you could get Anscombe, you could get Thomas Williams. Sean Lynn can't get Mo Hunt. Can't get Hurd. You can't get Singh.
Yes, exactly.
And these are some very key.
You can't get Tad Hurd.
You know,
the center that Hannah Jones plays best with is Tatiana Hurd, for example.
So you've got to work out then is who in the Wales squad would complement Hannah Jones best, like Tatiana Hurd.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, is there anyone?
Exactly.
And
honestly, my answer for that is Lakey George, but.
So are we looking at Lakey George 12?
I would,
you know, is it
personally.
The other thing I'd like is because something we've discussed a lot is how Kira Bevan and Lakey George are too similar to work as an international centre partnership. But we've had to play them because they are our best 9 or our best 10.
Yeah.
And
I agree 100%.
Do we have a 10
when you watch KB play with Holly Aitchison?
Yeah. So then do we have a Holly Aitchison? You know, and is that KP? Is she going to be that sort of more controlling mind?
I mean, KP is a playmaker.
And then allow Clakey and Kira to do what they do well.
I feel like it's a mindset, isn't it? If you're going like let's just get some results on the board, I think you go and pick as Gloucester-Hartpury as possible, and that's why I can see Meg Davis getting game time with Lakey George and things like that. But I think it's a case of we're here, so we might as well do something kind of point of view. Then you're bringing in KP at 10, then you're doing all the mad things, and
the jouet, the Welsh jouet.
Sometimes joueing them to death doesn't work, but it feels good.
But it looks really fun.
It is the hashtag Cardiff way.
It is the hashtag Cardiff way,
It is.
even though Sean
how
Lynn is
I
from
feel.
Swansea.
I just feel like I'm really positive about the Six Nations and I'm really looking forward to it. But I also think that Wales don't really have loads of. I don't think they have that much pressure on them. Really, I think the pressure's off Wales a bit. I think the pressure's more on Ireland and Scotland,
which is honestly, which is the best place for Wales to be with a new coach.
Exactly.
It's fantastic that they just happened to, by nature of the way that the march of time worked. It just so happens that everybody absolutely expects them to wooden spoon. I think
we're going to batter
Italy.
No, Italy aren't the very.
I think
we're going to beat Italy. I'm saying it now. I think we're going to beat
Italy.
Away
this.
I'm not sure people expected Wales to necessarily get the wooden spoon, but I definitely think that there's no pressure on us this year, and I think it's a shame that we've only got a week. That they've only got one full week now. After the PWR final, that's a real shame. I think, which is what only having that 1 week together makes me think that Sean Lynn might go a bit more with what he knows already really well. That's what I'm thinking. But I honestly think which happened
last time with the final being Gloucester-Hartpury and Bears. It happened the same.
Yeah.
But it killed us in our opener.
It did, yeah. But my main thing is I just really want the team. They've had a really shit time of it lately. Going all the crap that they've had to put up with. What Hannah Jones was talking about this week, and I'm really glad that she spoke out about that because it was awful what they went through.
Big up, Hannah.
Oh yeah, massive. And I really wanted to have a really good Six Nations as well. But I just for me, I want them to just really enjoy their Six Nations. I want them to get that love back and just enjoy it for what it is and have a, I think happy teams. And if you create an environment where a team has psychological safety and they feel comfortable and they feel safe and they want to play for each other, I think, you're more likely the results might come anyway, when you're in that really good space. So I think they should just, really focus on themselves in that sense and just get out there and have a great time.
And for the record, Hannah Jones even said at the launch that her favorite Six Nations is Italy away, and that is why I think it's Italy away. Because if your captain's happy, everyone's happy.
Well, Hannah Jones seems so much happier in her press conferences.
It's really remarkable. We can pontificate. She seems
not like an AI captain bot.
I think she was under a lot of stress and crap from last year, frankly, and I think she just kind of was probably told not to say anything as well. It must have been a horrible situation.
There was a lot of pressure from everywhere, and half the pressure genuinely shouldn't have been on her. But
agreed.
So I'm so looking forward to that first Wales 15. I think he will go Gloucester-Hartpury heavy just because of the lack of the prep time and just go, hey, you know what we did when we won the PWR final the other day?
But
do that.
True. But think about that because I do think they're going to win. We're going to talk about it in a sec. But
that's a 6-day turnaround then.
Several of their bodies will be battered.
Yeah, they will
going to go easy.
Especially as I said, it's a Saracens side who, much like the classic men's Saracens side, is a very physical team. Including, my spiritual love of life, Georgia.
They've been talking about it all over socials, is that they absolutely hate that they're viewed as the underdog, which is very Sary's like, shut up, you can be an underdog, you're fine. But they're very upset that they're the underdogs. And they are.
Okay, let's segue neatly into talking about the PWR final then, because firstly, I've loved it being on the BBC, especially with the funky music leading up to the kickoff when the game starts 10 minutes late.
Sean picked it herself.
I did pick it myself.
She was like, this will make Hugh laugh.
Which one does Hugh hate most?
Which one does Hugh think is
Are the teams
stupid?
Out? Hang on.
Yes, they are out.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
Yeah, true.
They're out. Neither are very surprising. They're pretty much
just
exactly
so much socials. Not everything has to be surprising, Julia.
Fair enough.
Well,
I like it when it's not.
Wales.
They've done the thing where the picture is a link, so you click on it to make it bigger, and it takes you somewhere else. And didn't want that at all. Right.
Talking about socials, Gloucester's socials this week. They've been
they
chef's
are
kiss.
laying it on.
It's so good.
Oh, you're not
And,
doing
you
the
know,
love heart finger thing very well there.
She is doing the love heart finger thing, but if you want to see the
No,
two
it's
teams
Saracens,
next to
it's
each other,
money.
Oh, I see.
Shout
Good.
out-
Pay me the money.
Can I just say,
shout out,
anyone listening,
friend of the
anyone
pod,
listening,
Sam.
anyone
If you would
listening
like
to this
to see-
podcast, we are looking at a picture here of the team.
Oh, yes, of course. If you would like to see the two teams stacked against each other, you can just go to Women's Rugby Show. Friend of the pod. Friend of the pod.
No, I'm going to do
But
this
he
one.
does the two teams stacked against each other.
According to this, Hugh Arthur Scargill is trending. What's
Yes,
going on there?
I've literally just clicked on that
Sorry.
whilst you were having the previous
Okay,
conversation.
first
to
of
see
all,
where it is.
as an American,
What?
I need to know about wet, wet, wet.
Apparent-
Wet.
They were a
She
band.
can-
I
They
need
did
to know
Love
about
Is
wet,
Blind.
wet, wet.
Arthur Scargill, I thought he was dead.
I
I'm
I
thought
don't
he
know
was
who
sure he
Patsy
is.
Kensit is either.
But it
I'm
says...
fairly confident he's dead.
I'll click on...
Is it
We'll,
from
we'll,
the
have- we'll
Dusty of
investigate
Anthony
this more
Company.
later.
About that
Strike
later.
or something?
So...
We'll talk about that offline.
I'll be honest. Look, I'll be honest. I don't know many of these Saracens players. I've heard of Marley Packer.
Fair
I've
enough.
heard of Poppy
Who would you like to
Cleal,
know
I've
about?
heard about Zoe Harrison.
Have you heard about
of,
Georgia Evans?
Yes, I've heard of Jess
You've heard of her?
Breach.
You haven't heard of Ella Virvas? Or
No.
Poppy Cleo?
I've heard of. I said Poppy Cleal.
Oh, okay.
Looking at the bench.
Vivas, she the Spanish one.
Who?
Spanish.
Who?
Vivas.
No, Ella Virvas is Red Rose.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, any thoughts on to come on? Educate me about the Saracens team. I know. I only know about Bears and Gloucester and a little bit about Harlequins. I don't know anything about
Sure.
Saracens.
I'm stoked for Akina Gondway. I'm so glad she's starting. She's fantastic. Big ups. Huge fan. I'm surprised. Well, I guess not surprised. I guess Kelsey Clifford doesn't count as a Canadian, but there are two more Canadians in Gabby Senft and Alicia Corrigan. Lottie Sharp, technically American. Yes, she's American. Don't come for me. She's
Hang on a minute. A
totally-
winger's captain. They've got co-captains and one of them's a
Lot-
winger.
That is formerly Lottie Clapp.
I
That is now Lottie.
still don't know who that is.
Oh, okay.
It
So
still
she's
doesn't
been a
excuse a
Saracens
winger as
captain a
captain.
while.
It is quite
She's
rare
been a
to have
Saracens captain a while.
It hasn't
What do you
happened for
do?
a while, is it? A winger being captain. I can't remember. It's like Ian
Well,
Evans was.
Yeah, I was going to say,
They're
hasn't happened
gonna
since
they're
Ian
gonna
Evans.
count they're gonna count Marley as the main.
I mean,
captain.
other than Captain America,
Yeah, of course.
Lane Scully.
Marley
Who's
Marley
captain of the
Packer
USA.
retire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Lottie Clapp, now Lottie Sharp, not a USA captain, but technically an American Eagle player.
So are Saracens good? They must be a bit good if they're in the final.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
pretty good.
Yes. They're
Pretty
pretty
good.
good, yeah.
I believe May
They're pretty
Campbell's
good.
joint top try scorer.
Yes, she's up. She is joint with Millie David, correct? And Millie David was out several months with an injury, so just saying.
Yeah, I mean that is even more impressive. To be fair.
Right.
Oh, Millie David is out of season.
Yes. We sure she's not.
I know. I keep asking if it might have been like Davies,
Yeah.
but it's David.
I know, it's such a shame. And she's so young as well. It's mind-blowing. She
Oh
seems
my
so lovely.
God. She, by all accounts, absolutely lovely. Anyway,
What's the
so now
difference
here's
between
this.
professional rugby content and fan-led content? She seems so lovely is the difference.
She seems so
Aw.
lovely.
She's so lovely.
Right. So
Well,
getting on to
okay,
the
okay.
getting
The
on to the
difference
proper
is
team.
if I were Claire
I'm-
Thomas, I would be
I-
using a very stupid adjective.
I
Sorry.
find myself I find myself very reluctantly becoming a Gloucester-Hartpury fan. I say reluctantly because they're clearly the best team, and it doesn't feel in my nature to support the best team. That's not normally what I do. But
Hence why you just got.
I have noticed.
He loves to lose.
Let me
He loves to lose.
Is that a Gloucester-Hartpury jersey over your shoulder, Julia?
Why did
I was going to ask, actually. It looked
so
like one.
emphatic? Yes, it is. It's called an Easter egg, and viewers love it.
Okay. But
It's only because I really, really dislike the Saracens, other than the two that I said I like.
look. I
Is it the
really-
two
I
Welsh
have
two
started
I like
to-
Gloucester. I like Gloucester.
I have started to find myself
I-
becoming a Gloucester-Hartpury fan.
I hate
think
to say
they're
it.
the
I
best
just
team.
Gloucester has such great vibes.
I think
They
they're
do.
the
They have
best
amazing
team. They've got the best players. They're coached by Sean Lynn. I've been
I
to
do-
Gloucester to
I-
see a rugby match several times. I like it a lot. I would happily, if I lived in Gloucester, I would have a season ticket easily,
Yep.
even though I think
Yeah,
their men's team
definitely.
are
Everybody
very
everybody
stupid.
has
Oh, I
said
hate the
such.
men's team.
I think Mo Hunt is one of the best rugby players of my generation.
Oh, she's
I
ridiculously good.
100% agree. I 100%.
I think she's
just
one of the
love her.
best of our entire generation.
Yes,
Well,
I agree.
I'm so
agree.
thrilled she's never going to leave rugby because I don't think that she can conceive of another world. Which is great.
I just
Please
don't
Please
want
don't
to
learn about
retire.
accounting. Don't learn about like lawyers.
Yeah,
Don't.
so they've named. So if I just read out, if you don't believe me when I say that Gloucester-Hartpury have got the best squad, right? Number 15, they've done the thing where they list the team 15 to 9 to 1 to 8. So
Classic rugby.
Emma Singh at fullback, bit good, might have heard of her. Mia Venter, Hannah Jones, Wales captain, Tatiana Hurd, you might have heard of her. Pip Hendy, who looks Welsh, and Hendy is a place in
We
Wales.
think
so
is
she's
Welsh.
probably Welsh.
We think is Welsh. Pip, call
Cokey
us.
George,
He's
who
also
we've spoken
very,
about.
very good.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Well,
Mo Hunt, bit good. Elle Perry,
Right.
Neath Jones, you might have heard of her. You might have heard of the head tilt of death. That's her.
Oh, the by the way, the confirmed by PWR most nuisance at the breakdown, which is awesome. And I wish I had played in PWR just so I could be the biggest nuisance.
Also, I don't know. I've never seen a hooker fail the eye test more, but be so brilliant at being a hooker. Because she looks like she should
I'm
be
just
a scrum
shaking
half.
my head for listeners.
Yeah.
She's so good.
I know what you mean.
She's
If
so
we have
good.
time at
She's
the end, we'll
unbelievable,
go on.
but she just does not
gonna be
look like
such
what I'd
trouble.
expect a hooker to look like.
If we have time,
Yeah,
at the end,
she's
we'll
got
go on the
scrum-
Ireland
she's got
website
scrum
and
half
see all the
condition.
squad
Good.
photos.
She's the
She's got
second
scrum
best hooker
condition.
called Jones at the Gloucester.
Yeah.
Ooh, KJ, that's a big vote for you, my bud.
So we've got Maud Muir at tight heads. We've got Sarah
Might have heard of her.
Beckett, then Zoe Oldcroft. You might have heard of her. Kate Williams, Bethan Lewis, and Alex Matthews on the bench. They've got. Oh, I can't be bothered to read the bench. They've got people on
In
the bench.
case you're taking notes at home, yes, everybody except Elle Perry in the pack is an international.
So they're a bit good, and they just play right rugby. I watch them and I go, "This looks right. This seems like rugby to me." When I watch
That
good
sounds
rugby
good.
teams, it looks like this. So, because that was a debate that we had, wasn't it? Was that are Gloucester good because they got good players, or are they good because they coach well? And the answer is yes.
Yeah,
They
both.
have both of those things.
And
Yes.
we're going to find out that question in a different dimension very soon, which is exciting.
Yeah. So
We're going to find out if Sean can do anything with anybody or if it's the setup.
and they're going for the three-peat. And just my carried over dislike of Saracens from the men's game means that I think I want Gloucester-Hartpury to win, and I think they will.
Same.
Same.
I said
Both,
my pure. I would like George Evans play of the match performance with a Gloucester win.
Yeah.
Very Harry Potter,
Yeah,
Ireland winning, but Crumb getting the snitch.
I would love Georgia to not get injured, and then, if possible, player of the match. That'd be awesome.
Yes.
It'd be so fantastic.
Cool.
I do
Well-
just for the poetic justice. I would love it if Mo gets player of the match, just because she really deserves it. I think they're going to win the three-peat. I think they're probably going to win the World Cup, and
I
then
think
Mo
narrative
is going to
will
ride off into the
get either
sunset.
her or Singh get it.
Yeah.
I love
it's
Singh
mad
as
that
well.
Emma
It's
Singh
TNT,
doesn't get picked
so
over
it will
those.
be on
Emma
narrative,
Singh, by the
not-
way, Emma Singh's parents online. If you're following, I'm gonna probably tweet this link at you later. If you watch it, can you check just really quickly, just check your family tree.
Everyone's got a Welsh
Big a
nan.
deal.
Everyone's
It's not
got a
that
Welsh
big a
nan.
deal. Everybody has a Welsh nan. I've heard this. Everyone said everyone has a Welsh nan. I looked. I don't. I'm trying.
Yeah, there's
No, you just haven't looked for the right nan.
yeah.
Because
I
a Welsh
know.
nan will just adopt you as one of their own.
There's a
know.
story.
Well,
they found a desert
I'm
island
coming.
in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. They pulled up onto it. They walked. They through the jungle, hacking their way through. They found a clearing. There was a man there. They said, "Have you got a Welsh nan?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, Auntie Dillis, yeah." And like that, everyone's got a Welsh nan. I promise.
Beautiful.
So
I am coming to the World Cup technically to watch the World Cup. I am going to try to find my Welsh nan in Wales. It's mostly to see Sean, but I'm also going to try to find my Welsh nan.
But if you've got a relative who piles food onto your plate so that's taller than you, and then calls you fat after you eat it, you've got a Welsh
Oh.
nan. That's your Welsh
Well,
nan.
that's also
That is so true.
that's also a Jewish mother though, and I do have one of those.
my
I
girlfriend's
do have one of
Welsh,
those already.
My girlfriend's Welsh nan told her that she'll never find a husband if she's too skinny.
Oh, so she
my
got a
God,
really
that's
skinny
something my
husband.
mum would say.
Yeah.
Right, but
Well,
so she got a
I
really
don't
skinny
recall
husband.
you
Have you seen
proposing
Hugh?
yet, Hugh.
Yeah. All right. Let's change the
Oh,
subject.
okay. I know. Okay. Boyfriend only. I meant skinny boyfriend.
So, yeah. So that I think that pretty much covers everything that we've got to talk about. Has anyone got any other
It
rugby
does.
that they want to talk about?
Just very
Oh
quickly,
no,
not
Harry's
because
got
I
because it's just happened, but Wales under-20 just beat England.
which is
piss off. No, we
fantastic.
haven't.
Yes,
Serious?
yes. Hugh was
Oh,
texting us, or not Hugh.
23-13.
Charlie was texting us.
We
What?
Yeah.
yes.
21-13.
Happy
23-13.
days.
They didn't even get a losing
He's
bonus
a happy,
point, and they
happy
were going for the
boy.
Grand
What?
Slam.
Oh,
This young generation knows
I've
how
never
to deal
heard
with an
Sean
England
happy
team going
like
for a
that.
Grand Slam.
Fuck off.
How many tries did
yes,
Harry
England.
Thomas score?
All right, never mind. Mine isn't
I
as
don't
good
think
at
he did.
all.
We got
I
battered
think
by
both tries
Scotland
came
last
from the
week.
backs.
We were rubbish last week. Well, we might have been
I love
rubbish
it. I
if
don't
we
care
had
if
Okay,
15
never
players
mind.
on the pitch. We could have made a
Never
decision
mind.
My
about
bit of
whether we
rugby
were
that I
rubbish.
wanted to
I
add
appreciate
isn't
that
as
is
good.
nothing to do with women's rugby, but it just happened, and I can't remember the last time a Wales side beat England at under 20s level. So, and they're so big,
No, they
you know,
haven't.
they're
2016.
naturally just a bigger, more thing. There you go. It's
Flipping heck.
fate. It's
Flipping
fate.
heck.
Mine
Right.
isn't nearly as good. My wrap up statement.
Okay,
which
what
is
is your wrap
just,
up?
Okay, sorry. I'm hoping that we're gonna pod again before, but just in case we don't, just a reminder to folks, the WER, which is Women's Elite Rugby in America, it also launches on March 22nd, which is the beginning of Women's Six Nations. Luckily, if you're abroad, you can definitely catch both. But all that is to say, check them out on socials. They've been doing really great for a completely brand new league. They're really trying, you know, of course there's gonna be growing pains, but I just wanted to say they're doing great. I'm hoping some of them catch our stuff, because I would really like to at least drop in some information if we don't get to actually cover it in earnest. But I'm stoked. It looks like it's gonna be great. If you're American, Canadian, overseas, please do check it out. This is the first time it's felt like USA Rugby is really putting their back into it. So
Also,
I can't
bonus
wait.
Points are on Blue
I
Sky.
can't wait.
pardon?
Bonus points are
What
on
was
Blue
that?
Sky.
Yes. They are all on Blue Sky. They take it very seriously, and their Insta content as well is really stand out. They're really making an effort to let the public know about their players, about the ethos behind their teams, all of which are great. And actually, on that note, huge shout out to Flo Williams, who helped them with the launch and designed a lot of this. She works with
They have
ABBA,
cool
which-
t-shirts.
Yeah,
Oh,
they have
really
really cool
cool.
merch. Oh, hoodies, hats, everything.
CWU, we could have
all
good
of their
merch.
crests all of their crests are dope.
Yeah, they're wicked.
And also, you know, especially if you are like us on this pod, if you are invested in social stuff as well, or social, I hesitate to call it activism, but of course everybody is very anti-trans ban. It's very LGBTQ friendly competition. You will see people like Alev Kelter, who's playing for the Breakers. Most of the USA Eagles who are not staying at PWR or playing either in OPICI or Super Rugby W in Australia are all playing in WER. So if you've loved Eagles in the past, please do follow them. They're giving it a really good go of it. I for once I'm proud to be an American rugby fan.
Oh. That
stoked.
reminds me, Super W you can catch on Rugby Pass TV.
That's right.
It was on Sky before. It's now on Rugby Pass TV. If you see the Waratahs are on, definitely watch them. They're a good watch. Fijian Drua, but battered them last week though. So
I think
didn't
Drew
see
is
that
gonna
coming.
win. Well, Drew won last season. I think they're gonna win again.
No,
They're so-
Tars won last season. So Drua won 2 in a row, then
Were they?
Tars won, and so
And
Tars are
Tar
defending.
wins all the ones that basically Tars and Drew are the only two teams who've won it.
Yeah,
My bad.
I'm pretty sure anyway. And then
Um,
Alpiki is back on as well. I don't know what channels. I don't know how to watch that in the UK though. I
think
want
it's
to say
just
it's on Sky,
Sky
but
Sports, probably, because they've
Oh,
got the
okay.
deal with New Zealand.
yeah.
It would be Sky over there if you are an American
But
or Canadian.
Alpiki, man, they need more than 4 teams. That's not enough teams.
I know.
Yeah, 100%. They
and
need to merge
actually-
it, but I get why they don't. because you've got that.
But I think New Zealand is wrong about this. I think this is something that is poisoning New Zealand rugby at the moment. It's just this constant mindset of we're okay on our own. We don't need anyone else's ideas.
No,
I think that's going to sink them.
Because I don't know what their contract situation is like for all the teams, and can they afford to be able to fly over to Australia for games and things like that. It's more logistics because it's not like.
But you can just align it with the men's seasons and to have the games at the same times and things, if that's the problem. Because it's all the same teams.
That is actually some of the conversation. And actually that's a really great, just tiny plug, Full Credit Podcast, which is Alice Soper's new podcast. She and Les Elder, a former Black Ferns captain, now discuss Opiki every week, and they are actually diving into these sorts of questions. They haven't answered this one yet, but they have been talking a bit about why there hasn't been the discussion of combining Super W and Opiki, and also other things like draft.
Yeah, I remember hearing Alice on David's podcast. Shout out David. And he always listens to this, so shout out David.
Yeah, I love David.
About how, because they've got FPC over in New Zealand, did they really need Opiki and things like that? So I won't spoil it, but if you just search Scrum of the Earth, Alice Sofa, really recommends it as a watch. Really educational. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of what we need to speak about on this week's episode of the Women's Rugby Treehouse. So that just leaves me to thank the human being and the Android users on the call, and say that I hope. Yeah, no, don't even show it to me. That's disgusting. That's disgusting to me. I can't even see Harley's because it's so.
All of those apps I can have if I want them.
I feel
because we don't have apps on
it's literally all text from you guys.
Right.
It's fine.
I'll be honest, that is all my phone is for, is to deal with our group chat. I've given up on everything else.
Yeah,
I know.
Pretty much
It's mostly me and Sean's fault.
All right then. So that brings us to the end of the podcast. If you've gotten this far, congratulations. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. There will be enhanced content during the Women's Six Nations. We haven't decided how or when yet, but somehow, someplace, it will make it happen. And yeah, enjoy the rugby, and I hope everybody's team wins. Cheers.